Yeah, we've just received a couple of statements from this region, from the United Nations, from the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, essentially the third highest ranking official in the U.S. government, and Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada. Let me start with the United Nations Secretary General, Colin. The Secretary General is saddened at the passing of His Royal Highness, the Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, the husband of Queen Elizabeth II, it reads, of the United Kingdom. He extends condolences to Her Royal Highness, the Queen, and to the people of the United Kingdom. As Royal Consort, the statement reads, the Duke of Edinburgh capably supported the Queen in her duties as sovereign for over 60 years. Of course, as you know, married for 73 years, Colin. He was known for his dedication to charitable causes as a patron of some 800 organizations, in particular those focused on the environment, industry, sport, and education. The Secretary General pays tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh for his active work for the betterment of humankind. That's how the statement from the UN chief ends. Nancy Pelosi tweeted this a short time ago, Colin. The US Congress extends condolences over the passing of Prince Philip, whose life was distinguished by an inspiring ethic of dedicated service. May it be a comfort to Her Majesty and the royal family that so many mourn with and pray for them at this sad time. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, but you'll also be aware that Canada is a constitutional monarchy that has the British monarch as their head of state. He writes that it is with deep sadness that I learned of the passing of the Duke of Edinburgh today, a man of great purpose and conviction who was motivated by a sense of duty to others. Prince Philip contributed so much to the social fabric of our country and the world. Prince Philip will be remembered as a decorated naval officer, a dedicated philanthropist, and a constant in the life of Queen Elizabeth II. The thoughts of all Canadians are with her and the entire royal family as they mourn this significant loss. We've also just seen a response from the Presidential Library of Jimmy Carter, a former president here in the United States. It tweets a picture of Jimmy Carter alongside Prince Philip and the Queen during a G7 meeting in London in 1977. This is what they say, Colin. We are sorry to hear that Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, passed away. President Carter and other heads of state dined with His Royal Highness and other members of the royal family on May 7th, 1977, while attending the 67th summit in London. So really a lot of reaction that we are getting and garnering here in the United States, and it really speaks to the stature of Prince Philip, who, if you were to equate him, he's essentially a first lady. He was second to the head of state and not the head of state. But certainly reaction here from the highest levels of government in the United States and certainly at the United Nations.
Well, Sherwin, I must say that you and I perhaps were still wet behind the ears when we heard about him for the first time. But surely he was a figure that was most of the time in the background and not hogging the headlines. Because when one grew up in the 80s, we only heard of Princess Diana, and the focus on the Buckingham Palace were also on Prince Harry and his brother, and not so much about him except to hear about Camilla Parker as well as Prince Charles.
Yeah, in many ways, he was the chief operations officer, and while the Queen was the CEO or the president of the company, right? They like to refer to the royal family as the firm. But I do believe that this is the most significant death since the passing of Princess Diana, the Princess of Wales, in August of 1997. And so certainly a constant figure. As much as you talk about how he was a private person, he was also a very public figure, a patron of over 800 organizations, and always at the side of the Queen. They visited South Africa most recently in 1995 and 1999, because South Africa is still part of the Commonwealth. The Queen is the head of the Commonwealth, and Prince Philip would be 2 paces behind, right? When they got married, she was Princess Elizabeth, and her father was not in line to be king. I mean, her father, King George, became king of the United Kingdom and head of the Commonwealth by virtue of his brother abdicating months after taking the throne in 1936. So she wasn't earmarked to be in line for the throne. So Prince Philip married a princess and was probably planning a life quite different from the one he led at her side for over 7 decades. So as much as he was someone in the background, he was very well known, and you can see that by the sentiment and expression of sympathy that we are getting from around the world right now.
Well, Sherwin, thank you so much for the update and the reactions from the United States. Coming to us live from New York, our correspondent there, keeping us up to date with the developments. And of course, we're going to take a break. We'll be back right now.